People following through with the live stream, so thank you for being here. Keep being diligent. Does anybody have all of their 15 sermon maps completed yet? Whoa! Whoa, there you go. Keep on going. Keep on going. We have like 6 or 7 sessions left right around there. Being worship on Wednesday nights, Sunday mornings. Please, please, please be there. Cool deal. We're going to start a two session this week and next week. We're going to talk about, you all know about what this is. What's those 2 words? The Bible book. That's literally what this means. Bible is a Greek word, biblos. That's how you at least transliterate it into the English, and it means book. But it's the book of faith. And so we're going to talk about what the Bible is and learn a little bit about that. Everybody give me a peace sign. Everybody, let's see, peace sign. Okay, now turn that peace sign into 2. Yep, there you got it. You're pretty quick. There are 2 portions, 2 distinct parts of the Bible. What are those 2 called? What is it? Old Testament, New Testament. You guys are smart. I'm going to just give you the initials. OT meaning, man, you guys pick up quickly. And the NT meaning, yeah. You don't have your Bibles in front of you. You will in your small group. I kind of brought one of my heavier Bibles with me. I shouldn't have. That is this book. The Bibles, there's like millions of different Bibles, thousands of different translations of the Bible, and I'll talk a little bit about that tonight. But I want to give you kind of an overview. Tonight we're going to talk about this one, which is what again? Old Testament. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And then next week we're going to talk a little bit about this one. What is this one? Man, you guys are quick. How many books are this? I'm just telling you, all right, at once. This is a trick question. It looks like it is 1 book. Nope. 66. This is 66 books. You knew it was a double number. Yeah. Because you guys have been to camp, to confirmation camp, where we study in depth the Bible. This, guys, this book, this one book is really 66 different books. It is written 66 different times. How do I say that? It is written at different times in history, collected and brought under this one book. The front about 2/3 or 3/4 are the Old Testament. The back 1/3 to 1/4 pages are the New Testament. Let's see if you guys can. So imagine that there's 66 total, right? How many? 33? Nope. See how good of mathematicians you are. There are 39 in the Old Testament. How many then are there in the New Testament? What? 27. Way to go. There are 27 New Testament books. This Old Testament, this is written about 1,500 years before Jesus, from the period of 1,560 about to 150 before Jesus. So it was over a 1,000-year span that it was actually written down. Lots of different authors writing these. And the language that this was written in, does anybody remember what language the Old Testament was written in originally? What was it? Latin? No. Close, but wrong. Yeah, Hebrew. Hebrew. The Hebrew is the language of the Jewish people. Still exists today. The Hebrew language, the people of Israel, the Jewish people, are still alive. If you go to typically more of a metropolitan area, there will be Jews there. They still read Hebrew. I needed to take about 20 semesters of Hebrew, but I only took one. And so I've known very, very little about Hebrew. So when you are reading, you read, in the English this direction, correct? You start here, you go this way, right? In Hebrew, you start from this direction and go this way. Oh man, that was hard to get to understand. Hard to get through my brain. You read instead of left to right, you read right to left. And that's the easiest part about the language. So I really didn't get anything else out of that. I needed way more than one semester. But the Old Testament talks about the people of Israel and how God chose a particular people. And I'm just going to take this away for just a little bit, because this is where we're staying, is with the Old Testament. And there's some, in order to get the concept of the Old Testament is you need to know that this is written by, and it's all about God and the people in the nation of Israel, the people that are called the Jews. And God always existed. I can't explain it to you. But finally, after eons and eons of time, God said, I want to have my very own people to relate with. And God chose the Jews. God chose them to say, you are my people. And that's what this Old Testament is all about, is God choosing them. Oh my goodness. What an incredible thing. And what a burden. When you are looking at the Bible, and you guys are aware of this because you've been already doing some various Bible studies, but in order to find things in the Bible, I'm just going to start here. This is the very first book of the Old Testament. It's called Genesis, meaning beginnings. In the beginning was the word and there's certain ways of looking things up. So you will notice that when you are trying to find a Bible verse, and this is just a major review because you guys know this, you start with the book of the Bible, then you go to the chapter, and then you go to the verse. So that's how you find things up. It was only about 500 years ago that scholars first put the numbers in there. The people who first wrote this just wrote it all, and then it was hard to find. So for the ease of the Bible study, in about the year 1560, numbers were attached to the various verses. So it's not a really very religious thing, but it's really helpful for you and me as we study it. When you are reading the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, you got to understand that there's various kinds of literature, writings in here. There's history in there. Do you guys know what history is? I mean, you guys study that now. Like you might study American history or world history. History has to do with people, places, things, dates, events, war. That's in the Bible. History. What's another kind of literature that you have studied? And then you can just give me an idea and see if it's in the Bible. What else? What? Do you guys know? What's another one? What was it? Poetry. Absolutely. And there is poetry in the Bible. Believe it or not, it may not be the kind of poetry like it rhymes, but there is poetry in the Bible. Do you read and study history the same way you do poetry? History is really, information. Poetry is, images, painting images and pictures with words. So one of the things you have to understand is that in the Bible, there's history. You got to study that and understand that. One way, there's poetry. Do you guys know what this is? Can you read that? What is that? Biography. What's a biography, gals here? What's a biography? Do you remember what a biography is? Go ahead. Biography. Say that again. I couldn't hear you. What? Yeah, a biography is where somebody is writing about somebody else's life. There are biographies in there. Hey guys, shh. There are writings in here about people's lives. Another kinds of thing that's in here you probably don't think of it as a kind of literature, but songs. There are songs. The book of Psalm, Psalms, is songs. It's worship songs. So you kind of get into the idea of what worship was like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago. Do you guys know what this is? Law. What's a law? A rule. Do this, don't do that. There are rules. There are laws in there. There are just like pages and pages of laws that God has given us. Yeah, so there's laws in there. Let me look at my list and see what else I'm missing. Oh, yeah. Do you guys know what a parable is? A parable is a story that somebody tells in order to make a point. So there's parables in the Old Testament and in the New Testament. We think of parables as mostly in the New Testament that Jesus told, but there are stories in the Old Testament as well. So all of these things are the kinds of literature that make up this. And what is this again? Old Testament. There is a better term for that. We talked about this in our confirmation camp, and so some of you guys will get this. Old meaning what? Archaic, or maybe used up, or more. The better term for this, instead of Old Testament, would be to call it the First Testament. And then the New Testament, the Second Testament. Testament is meaning that statement of faith. Because really it's not old. If we believe that this is God's word, it's always renewing and new. Now I want to go to the central message of the Old Testament. Do you guys know what this prefix means? Mono. Do you know what that is? What is it? One. Absolutely. Way to go. Mono means one. And then I'm going to whoop some Greek onto you. Can you kind of sound out that last word? Dan, do you want to pronounce that for them? Theism. Way to go. I was going to try to, Pastor Dan is sitting there, with his coffee or whatever. Water. Good answer, bud. Theism has to do with the study of God or the sense of God. And so what this is monotheism has to do with the one God. The central statement of our Christian faith and the Jewish faith, Old Testament and New Testament, is there is how many gods? Thank you for reading my finger correctly. How many gods are there? One. And that is called the concept of monotheism. We believe there is but one God. And that's important to understand. And then a second whole concept is this in the Bible. This is all about the Bible, the Old Testament, monotheism and covenant. We don't think about it as such. But almost 41 years ago, when my wife and I stood in front of an altar and God and our families, we got married. She says, I don't remember, I was so blooming nervous. But anyway, that's a different story. But we made a promise to each other. I will be your husband. And my wife said, I will be your wife. That's a covenant. That's a promise. That's a promise that is not to be broken. That's a covenant. A covenant is what was made between God and the people of Israel. And God said, I will be your God, and I will give you land, I will give you ancestors, I will give you protection. That's what God promises. That's God's part of this covenant. The Israel's part of the covenant agreement or promise was, we will be your people, and we will worship you. You will be number one. We will follow your law, and we will love you. We'll serve you. We will be loving the neighbor kind of thing. So a covenant is an agreement back and forth. Monotheism is big. Covenant is big. And I'm going to hit you some with some Hebrew again. Shema. There is one verse in the Old Testament, in Hebrew religion, in the Old Testament Jewish religion, that is number one. I can't spell it, but it is there. It is Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. It's called the Shema. It is the number one Bible verse, piece of faith for the people of Israel, the Jewish people. And it is here. Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, and your what? Your guns. Your strength. That is the number one Bible verse. Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one, and you shall worship the Lord your God. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. That's the number one commandment. The number one Bible verse. That is the center of their faith. It's called the Shema, because Shema in Hebrew means hear. Hear, O Israel. So it's just the first word of that phrase, Shema. If you ever hear that word, that's what it's about. And so these are the three main things about the people of Israel and being God's people. We are going to see, Brian, by the wonder of technology, is going to push a button, and he's going to show us a 3-minute video clip about 2 or 6 seconds, maybe different than that. And we're going to talk about the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, New Testament.
The Bible. It's one of the most influential books in human history.
It explores the big questions of why we exist.
It's inspired many people to do amazing things.
And confused many others.
And you've probably got one sitting around somewhere.
So, what is the Bible actually?
Well, the Bible is a small library of books that all emerged out of the history of the people of ancient Israel. And in one sense, they were just like any other ancient civilization. But among them were a long line of individuals called prophets. And they viewed Israel's story as anything but ordinary. They saw it as a central part of what God was doing for all humanity. And these prophets were literary geniuses.
Really?
Yeah, they expertly crafted the Hebrew language to write epic narratives, very sophisticated poetry. They were masters of metaphor and storytelling, and they leveraged all of this to explore life's most complicated questions about death and life and the human struggle.
So, there's a lot of different authors writing this book.
Yeah, and these texts were produced over a 1,000-year period, starting with Israel's origins in Egypt, then leading up to their kingdom with their first temple, but eventually they were conquered by the Babylonians, who took them away into exile. Then, at a crucial moment in their history, many Israelites returned to their land. They built a second temple, they reformed their identity, and this is when the Jewish scriptures began to be formed into the shape that we have them today.
Okay, the Jewish Bible. What's in it?
Well, in Hebrew, it's called by an acronym, Tanakh. The T stands for Torah, sometimes called the Law. That's Israel's 5-book foundation story. The N stands for Nevi'im, the Hebrew word for prophets. And this section consists of the historical books that tell Israel's story from the prophet's point of view. Then you get the poetic books of the prophets themselves. The K stands for Ketuvim, the Hebrew word for writings. This is a diverse collection of poetic books, wisdom books, and more narrative. And the Jewish people believed that through all of these literary works, God speaks to his people.
Now, there were other Jewish writings being produced during this Second Temple period as well.
Yeah, a really diverse group of texts. And these too were highly valued in Jewish communities. And there was debate from ancient times about whether or not some of these should be considered part of their scriptures.
So, this is a lot of different writings over a long period of time. Why did they put them all together like this?
Well, altogether, these texts tell an epic story about how God is working through these people to bring order and beauty out of the chaos of our world. And it all builds up to a hope for a new leader who would come and renew all creation. And then the Tanakh concludes, and this leader never comes.
So it's an expertly crafted work, but it's missing an ending?
That's exactly right. Now, a few centuries later, a Jewish prophet comes onto the scene named Jesus of Nazareth.
It's like, okay, the story's not complete yet. And that's really the way we look at the First Testament. It's like, oh my goodness, there's nothing complete about it. They're still waiting for the Messiah. And so in this video clip, you kind of hear a little bit of the background of the First Testament, the Old Testament, saying there's a promise of a Messiah. And the Old Testament stops. And the last thing that you saw there was whom? Jesus. And that's when then what connects Jesus with the First Testament, the Old Testament. Jesus is all about in the New Testament, which we're going to talk about in a little bit more in depth next week. But this video clip helps us see where Jesus is the connector to us in our story. So, you and I, quite often in our worship services, in our studies, as Christians, we study the Old Testament because Jesus was a Jew. Jesus was a student of monotheism and the covenant and the Shema. And in fact, I don't know if any of you probably noticed it, but later on, when Jesus is asked, what's the big commandment? Every Jew would know, the Shema. Love the Lord your God with love the Lord your God with your thought, your head, your heart, your strength. And then Jesus said, there's a second like it, and we'll get to that next week. But Jesus was a Jewish person, an Old Testament person that goes into that next. So that's where we're going to leave it. You've got in your studies in your rooms some various Bible study. You're going to be looking at the Old Testament, the First Testament, more in depth looking at that. And you're going to be talking about monotheism, covenant, Shema, and some other things in that Old Testament. Any comments, questions at this point? Any question? Nothing? Okay. Let's get the 8th grade girls out of here first. Head on out. Head on out. Then we'll do the 7th grade girls. The 7th grade girls. Are you guys awake?
No, he's not.
Okay, 7th grade boys, out of here, gentlemen. Leaving the best for last. Leaving the best for last, you guys. All righty. Head on out.